You've just conducted interviews and transcribed your interview data. Now you are wondering, how are you going to conduct qualitative data analysis on this data using ATLAS.ti? In this video, I'll simply be teaching you how to conduct qualitative analysis of interviews using ATLAS.ti. Let's get to it. The first thing that we need to do, even before we go to ATLAS.ti, is to define what we are going to be doing. Ideally, what we are going to be doing is coding. We are going to be coding our data and then combining codes together to form themes. Let me begin by showing you an example of codes. Then I define what codes mean, and then from there we can go to ATLAS.ti. Now, here are some examples of codes. You can see HF means heart failure. Heart failure symptoms affect workplace. Swelling in the legs and blisters, pain in the legs, swelling in the legs, previously taken medication. HF symptoms affect workplace, palpitations when walking. So I want to read the statements and then see why did I make these codes. You can see this person says, from this place, it's been 3 years since I came back from Gulf. The main reason for coming back is because in between I had swelling in my legs. I'm a driver. If I start today, then 2 to 3 days only I can come back. So there was swelling in the legs and blisters, and I was not able to keep my leg down. You can see that section I've coded it as heart failure symptoms affect work, not workplace but work. It affects their work, so they are not able to perform well at work because of heart failure symptoms. Then swelling in the legs and blisters. That statement is, I had swelling in my legs. I'm a driver. If I start today, then 2 to 3 days I can come back. So there was swelling in the legs and blisters were there. I was not able to keep my leg down. So swelling in the legs, that's another code. Then there is pain in the legs. The statement from, so there was swelling in the legs, blisters, and then I was not able to keep my leg down, that kind of pain I was having. So pain in the legs. There is another code where they say, then I took medicines, and since I was taking medicines, it was okay. So they have previously taken medication. The code is previously taken medication. This is for heart failure, by the way. Then I went to Gulf, but then after 1.5 years I came back. I had some difficulties. The code that we had before, heart failure symptoms affect work. Then when I walk, I was having palpitation. I was not able to climb stairs. So palpitations when walking. These are codes. From these examples, we can see that codes can be defined as labels or interpretive statement to any information that's important to our research objectives or questions. So a code is simply a label or an interpretive statement to any information that's important to our research questions or objectives. Let me interrupt this video for a minute and pose this question to you. Are you overwhelmed by qualitative data analysis? I've got you covered with 2 specialized services tailored just for you. But before I tell you of my services, let me first begin by informing you that I have an average 5-star rating out of the previous 51 clients that I've worked with, both in the done for you and the consulting service. Now, here are the 2 services I provide to help you in analyzing your qualitative data with ATLAS.ti. 1, the done for you qualitative data analysis service. In this service, I handle the heavy lifting so you can focus on the bigger picture. My service includes 1, meticulous manual coding, where I go through every word and carefully analyze it for meaningful insights. Theme development, where I identify the patterns that matter the most. Data visualization, where I provide stunning visuals that tell your data story. Findings report, where I provide ready-to-use content for chapter 4 of your thesis or dissertation. And a walkthrough video recording, which is a step-by-step explanation of how I analyze your data using ATLAS.ti. The second service is the one-on-one consulting for ATLAS.ti. In this service, I hop on a video call with you via Zoom, Microsoft Teams, or Google Meet, and in just a few hours, I will help you become an ATLAS.ti pro. Whether you are a beginner looking to refine your qualitative data analysis skills, I'm here to guide you every step of the way. Don't wait, contact me today. My details are in the description and in the pinned comment. Having seen some examples of random codes, we want now to go to ATLAS.ti. And I'm introducing this software because I've not done tutorials for this. The first thing we see when we open ATLAS.ti is the blue menu and other menus on the left. So the blue menu on the left, we go and create new project. Let's call this analysis project. analysis project 1, then we click on create. So we are creating this project. Here we have our analysis project. For this project, I'm going to analyze 2 transcripts, as you can see here. These transcripts relate to the topic of engagement, of parental engagement. So it's engagement of parents in schools. I'm going to import these 2 transcripts into ATLAS.ti. How do I do that? I can either drag and drop them or import them using the import function. But before I go to that, I would just like to look at the main menus in ATLAS.ti. We have the top menu that is made up of file, home, search and code, analyze, import, export tools, and help. We have a secondary menu that is made up of add documents, new entities, project comment, navigator, documents, quotations, codes, memos, networks, and links. And we have this menu on the left, which is made up of documents, codes, memos, networks, document groups, code groups, memo groups, and network groups. So it's a very simple software in appearance, but it's a software that works. The first way to import one of my transcripts is to drag and drop it inside the document section in ATLAS.ti. So by dragging and dropping, ATLAS.ti is now importing my document. You can see I have one document now. That's how I import. That's a document. In ATLAS.ti, by the way, in the documents, you can also create grouping of documents, but that will come in my later tutorials. Today, I just want to import and show the basic coding using this software and how we combine codes based on shared meaning and how we mark codes or we manage codes coming from different participants and from different questions. So let me just drag and drop the other transcript. Drag and drop that under documents. And we have 2 transcripts imported in ATLAS.ti. Now, let's go and do some analysis. Let me close one of the interviews. To do analysis, we have to use a framework. Now, before we start performing qualitative analysis on the interviews, we have to decide which approach we are going to use. For example, for this video, I'm going to conduct thematic analysis on the interviews. And I choose to use the Braun and Clarke 6-step framework of conducting thematic analysis, which includes familiarizing with the data, generating initial codes, developing themes, reviewing themes, defining and naming themes, and writing the report. Although I won't be following these steps one by one, this is the main framework that I'll be using to conduct my thematic analysis. For the purposes of this video, we are going to get codes, and then we are going to try to combine the codes and see how we get themes. Now, let's go to interview 1. Let's read, because we need to familiarize with the data and then generate some codes and see. People use the term parental engagement in lots of different ways. In your experience, what does it mean in school when people talk about parental engagement? Before we begin coding, I always emphasize that it's important to have a color code to mark each and every question that you are going to code. For example, you can see the first question is red. So this second question, I can mark it as green. That question, I can mark it as... This is just a way to manage the codes that will be coming from these questions, because I'm going to mark these codes across ATLAS.ti. That is another question there. Another question here, we can mark it. Let me just use brown. Those are different color codes for different questions. I'll show you how we are going to use them. Back to ATLAS.ti. Let's read. People use the term parental engagement in lots of different ways. In your experience, what does it mean in school when people talk about parental engagement? This respondent says, for me, it means partnership between school and parents, not just with the academic side of things, but with all the personal, social, and health. Creating a community, if you like, so the school is the heart of the community. I like to read the whole paragraph and then begin coding. This statement, for me, it means partnership between schools and parents, not just with the academic side of things, but with all the personal, social, and health. I would like to code that as, so I'm going to highlight, then right click, apply codes. Then I'm going to voice type here. What do I say? Holistic partnership between school and parents. When we add a code, let me close that. We can see that it goes to the code section. Look at the menu on my left or on your left also. In the code section, if I double click here, you can see the statement that I just coded. Then creating a community, if you like, so the school is at the heart of the community. I highlight that and I want to code this as apply codes. So right click, establishing a community with school at the center. That's another code I just created. Establishing as a community with school at the center is another code. Basically, coding involves interpreting quotes from the participants in ways that make sense to our research objectives. Let's go to the next question and keep coding. And in your view, what types of parental engagement are most effective? As you've alluded to, there are a lot of different ways it could be defined, so I'm going to read the whole paragraph. I think the most effective are the ones that have a strong purpose, so the parents know why they are coming in. Obviously, for some of our parents, school is a barrier, so I think some of the more socio-community-based events that get the parents through the door for just a coffee or a chat are really important, as well as even things like phone calls and grabbing parents on the playground for informal chats about their children, and not just the bad stuff but the good stuff too. It's all about building those relationships, I think. Let me do some codes here. So what types of parental engagement are most effective? This person says the ones that have a strong purpose, so the parents know why they are coming in. So those with a strong purpose. And by the way, I wanted, because we've gone to another question, let me just remind you the color codes that we have. The first question, I want to mark the codes as red based on the color code that I assigned. If you remember this code, if I right click here and go to color and go to change color, I mark that code as red. Then remember there was another code here, change color. It was also from the first question, so I mark it as red. And then the second one is those with a strong purpose. I want to assign a color that I had decided before, green. Let's go and do that. I go to change color, then I choose this, I think it's light green somehow. That's how we mark codes from this section. And you can also see in ATLAS.ti the codes are getting this kind of color codes automatically. So let's keep coding. Obviously some of our parents, school is a barrier, so I think of the more socio-community based events that get parents through the door just for a coffee or a chat are really important. So this person is saying social and community based events are an effective form of parental engagement. I want to highlight that. Go to apply code by right click, apply code, then social and community based events. Then we click on a plus sign, and that, remember, should have the color, right click, change color, light green, because it came from the second question. Let's keep reading and coding, as well as even things like phone calls and grabbing parents on the playground for informal chats about their children, and not just the bad stuff but the good stuff too. I think it's all about building those relationships. Another effective form of parental engagement is phone calls with parents. So I right click, apply code, then I type here phone call with parents. Of course, I click the plus sign, and grabbing parents on the playground for informal chats about their children. This one also, I right click, I go to apply codes, and then I state that having informal chats with parents. Remember, all these belong to the second question, so the color code is light green. So social community based events are done that. Phone call with parents, of course, so change color light green, and then having informal chats with parents, I'm gonna put another light green. Now I want to go and do another batch of codes for the second interviews, and then we're gonna see how we combine these to form themes. If we are doing this for a complete project, it would generally involve going there and revising the codes first, but for this video I just wanted to introduce you to ATLAS.ti, to have you have a dip in ATLAS.ti, and to show you how we can easily get codes and combine them to get themes. And then often we always go and report the findings. Let me open the second interview and now close the first one, and let's read this. In your experience, what do people mean when they talk about parental engagement in school? Let's read the whole paragraph first, then we come back and code. For me personally, it's not an additional thing. It's something you do as a class teacher on lots of different levels. It's about having a good relationship with parents in your class. Then there's different layers you can add to that, like the events we have in school that parents can come in and be part of. You might also have some parents that volunteer within the school as well. There could be parents coming to the classroom to see things happening. So I think it's layered on lots of levels, but it starts with the class teacher building those relationships. After that, you can do loads of different things to get parents involved. So in your experience, what do people mean when they talk about parental engagement in school? For me personally, it's not an additional thing. It's something you do as a class teacher on lots of different levels. It's about having a good relationship with parents in your class. I want to code this. To this teacher, parental engagement means I right click, I go to apply codes, then I voice type, having a great relationships with parents. So having a great relationship with parents, I add that code, click the plus sign to add it. If you remember the first question, it was marked as red. Having a great relationship with parents, I right click, I go to change color to mark it as red. Remember, it's important to manage our codes to know where they came from, because later we are actually going to be looking for patterns of shared meaning across these codes. Looking for a pattern of shared meaning is a thing we have to do later. We have to as well mark the codes to know where they originally came from, so that it can be easy for us to look for a pattern of shared meaning. Then there's different layers you can add to that, like the events we have in school that parents can come in and be part of. You might also have some parents that volunteer within the school as well. There could be parents coming into the classroom to see things happening. So it's layered on lots of levels, but it starts with the class teachers building those relationships. So parental engagement is building a good relationship with parents. This person also said, or this teacher also said, active engagement of parents in the classroom. All those quotes I want to say, or add a code as active engagement of parents in the classroom. So active engagement of parents in the classroom. Let's go to change color, put that as red. That's another code. So in your view, which of those different layers or which types of parental engagement are most effective? You might ask a question later on in your interview. Some people provide answers even before you ask them. For example, if you read which of those different layers, which types of parental engagement are most effective, you can see this participant had already said parents volunteering in school. I want to code that as a type of parental engagement, so I'm giving it a green color code after I'm done. So parents volunteering in school. If I go to change color, I use light green. Why? This relates to the second question. Although it was asked in the first question, we still coded it in another section. One section can be attached to very numerous codes. There could be parents coming into the classroom to see things happening. Okay, parents visiting the classroom. So that code, I right click on it and I change color to light green. Look at that. We still have not even gotten to the second question, but this person had given us codes that we thought are what they thought was effective ways of parental engagement. But still, let us read their responses. I think the most effective ask goes to be that relationship that you have with parents as a teacher, because parents will have different experiences with school. You want them to come through the door and be involved that way, but also you want them to be involved outside the school as well with homework and reports. So that's another level of engagement outside school, which has completely changed in the last 18 months. But in terms of engagement, I think you have to engage with them before you can expect them to engage with you. If you don't want them through the doors, then you've got to make them feel welcome and at ease. You got to let them know who you are and what you are about. You build that relationship and have conversations about their children and keep them up to date and informed with everything. The more you do that, the more they become involved. So it starts with the teacher parent relationship, and then everything else grows from that. So from this we can see that this person is emphasizing that the most effective form of parental engagement begins with teacher parent relationship. So I want to highlight this last part. We apply a code and say engagements based on effective parent teacher relationships, right? So engagements based on effective parent-teacher relationships. And then for this, I go to color. This one was light green. Basically, these are the kind of parent-teacher relationships that we have here. Now, we have done the first phase of analyzing our interviews or conducting thematic analysis on our interview, which is generating codes. This is the analysis of these interviews. Once we've generated codes, I want to close the transcript and move to the second step, which is coming up with themes. For my example, you can see it's very easy to come up with themes. Why? Because I ensured that I marked the codes and the questions that this person was asking can give us a hint. For example, they were asking, in your experience, what does it mean in school when people talk about parental engagement? This is subjective meaning of parental engagement. I can have a theme. That one will be in code groups. Go to code groups section in ATLAS.ti, right click and call this new group. For this code group, I want to call it subjective understanding of parental engagement. Subjective understanding of parental engagement. Then we go to create. That's will be one of our themes. And by the way, I can go and try to edit this. So I go to rename. This one will not be, I want to call this theme #1. So I label this theme and click rename. So this is a theme. Remember, the first question we were asking these people is, what does it mean in school when people talk about parental engagement? Let's write that down somewhere. So I want to right click and go to new memo. This theme represents the subjective understanding of parental engagement according to the interviewees. You see, when we click, there's a memo kind of an icon here. When we click on it, we can read what that theme means. And then remember, every code that came from question number 1 was marked as red. We marked the first question as red. I'm going to go and grab all the codes that are marked red by pressing Control, clicking on them. I drag and drop them under that theme. In ATLAS.ti, these codes will get duplicated. Under this theme, we have 4 codes. You can see they are being counted for 1, 2, 3, 4. And these are the codes. Let's form another theme. Let's go to code groups. Okay, new group. And then let's see what will be the second theme. If you look at them, you will see engagement is based on effective teaching relationships. Now consider the question that was being asked. What types of parental engagement are most effective? So this theme can be theme 2, effective forms of parental engagement. Then we press create. So effective forms of parental engagement. What are they? Look at these codes. Engagement based on effective parent-teacher relationships, having informal chats with parents, parents visiting the classroom, parents volunteering in the classroom, phone call with parents, social and community-based events, those with a strong purpose. So all those codes, drag and drop them in this code group. And that's how you get all codes under that code group. Combined codes are what are forming themes. Basically, that's how we do coding, or we go from interview transcripts all the way to getting themes in ATLAS.ti. Then, with that in mind, we can go to codebook and export a form of a codebook. We have to just assign it in the right folder. So I want to open code list in Excel. Let's see. Or open codebook in Excel. Let's see the codebook. You see? So we have codes, we have code group 1 and 2. So each code, ATLAS.ti is showing us where it belongs. These codes, of course, they are red because I give them a color code, and that's a good thing about ATLAS.ti. You remember, I marked the codes as red that came from the first question. So the codes that are marked as red are under theme 1. So what this ATLAS.ti is calling a code group, it's called a theme. So theme 1, we have active engagement. What is the subjective understanding of parental engagement? So an active engagement of parents in the classroom, establishing a community with the school at the center, having a great relationship with parents, holistic partnership between school and parents. So that's it. Then we have the second code group, or the second theme, engagement based on effective parent-teacher relationship. So what are the effective forms of parental engagement? It's engagement based on effective parent-teacher relationships, parents visiting the classroom, parents volunteering in the classroom, phone call with parents, social and community-based events, and those with a strong purpose. That's the kind of a code book that we get from ATLAS.ti. Basically, that's how we code and move from codes to themes in ATLAS.ti. I'm going to have other videos where we go deep into how to report the findings and how to even have more visuals or visualizations and all that. But basically, this is how we get codes, or we perform qualitative analysis of interviews with ATLAS.ti. Remember, If you are feeling stuck with your data analysis chapter, don't stress, I'm here to help. I offer done-for-you qualitative data analysis services using ATLAS.ti. My done-for-you service includes coding, theme development, and visualization. On the other hand, if you prefer to learn and do the analysis yourself, I provide one-on-one ATLAS.ti consulting, where I'll guide you how to master ATLAS.ti through step-by-step instruction and perform qualitative data analysis. Reach out right now, check the description for my email and link to my website.